committee meeting for December 12th.
Larry's birthday.
Start off with county services.
There he is.
Sleep.
One meeting going.
Six oh four, 605. Open County Services Committee, 605. We have 7 proposed action items. The one designating approved inspection agency for electrical inspections. I'm sure we all got the email from Rich Kerr.
I didn't.
No?
That's not unusual.
Who wants to move that?
Lavera.
Okay, Rivera moves it. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Authorizing agreement to Historical Society. I'll move that. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Ray Overbaugh seconds. Who else? Anybody else want to say? Handle. Second. Handle. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Authorizing agreement, Greene County Department of Human Services, Aging and Anytime Home Care, Inc. I'll move that. Do we have a second?
Lavera.
Rivera, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. Authorizing agreement, Greene County Department of Human Services, Aging and Home Helpers.
Overbaugh.
Overbaugh and Handle. Overbaugh and Handle, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried. Authorizing lease agreement, Greene County Department of Human Services, Aging in the town of Caro.
True.
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 True and Lennon. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's carried. Authorizing chargeback of election-related services and materials. Lennon
Handle.
and Handle.
Mr. Chairman, if I can, just for a second here, this is another one of these chargebacks that the county charges back to our towns for the cost of doing elections that New York State requires the counties to do. Yes, we are authorized by law to back charge this if we wish. It is not required. But this is the very thing that we complain about the state doing to the county. Funded mandate. So I rooted against this for many years. Everybody hears it. I'm not quite sure why. I agree with it. But I will be for you know again on this because it is indeed a funded mandate that we're putting on our town.
So my question would be, if we don't pay it, the state would have to pick up the tab.
No,
No.
it is required by the county from the state to provide the election, including the care and custody of the machines. We are authorized to charge
So
for all
charge
that.
goes back to the individual town.
The charge is the responsibility of the county. We're authorized to back charge it to the town. That's by law. Some counties do, some counties do not. Most counties. Thank you.
We have a mover.
If you haven't-
I move it. Lennon, thank you. Do we have a second? Handle. Handle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Make
And I'm going to agree with the chairman. I was looking at this today and I'm thinking, no. Okay.
Versus the state that makes us do more and more and more, and more days of elections and more hours of elections. This cost just keeps going up and up, and we're back charging it.
Okay. Anybody else disagree? I assume we are carried. Budget amendment, Greene County Human Services Youth Bureau.
Handle.
Handle, and I'll second that. Any, all opposed, or all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, that is carried. Is there any other business before county services this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I saw that we have our Commissioner of Social Services is with us, and I know a lot of us had some questions, so I thought maybe this would be an opportunity for her to have the floor.
May I come up?
Sure.
Nobody would ask.
I thought you were gonna volunteer.
I was trying to be.
Can't be shy around us.
So we do have a couple slides, exciting slides too. Exciting, see, exciting. It's like a physics class. So anyhow, so this first slide, which I think you all have a copy of, what I wanted to show, and then I will get to the data, and I want to give you the data that you want to use, but I want you to be able to explain it so it makes sense. Okay, so this really exciting slide, and I like the numbers, because it really shows the hard work that the staff has done. So this is 10-year trend from 12 to 22. And then I'll show you what COVID has done to the trend. So the first box, the temporary assistance recipients, those are the folks who people think, automatically you get the cash, but here in Greene County, we'll pay for somebody's rent, so they're not getting. Take a look at that 10-year trend overall. So when you have conversations in the community, people don't believe that, but that's reality. Now, I want to tell you other reality. Now, I want to take you back to 1960. That was a good year, 1960, wasn't it?
I was born.
Don't know.
I don't know either.
I was born. You can Google it, man.
I was born in 1980.
Anybody has a guess in 1960 what that first number looked like? Now, I'm taking you from 2012. I'm pretty close to 575,000 across the state of New York. But in 1960, what do you think the number was?
10,000.
10,000. Anybody else? Okay.
Same as 12.
Okay, so pretty shocking. It was 400,000 people in the state of New York in 1960. 1970, what do you think happened to those numbers? Think of it, think about our country in 1970. It was 1.4 million. That number from 12 to 1970, think about the difference. 1980 was 1.3. 1994, the worst year in New York State for public assistance. 1.7 million people were getting benefits just in that one category. Welfare reform happened. We had 2,000, we went down to 800,000 people. So all the work that's been done to move people from category, we hit COVID and we bottomed out in the state of New York. Obviously, there's lots of data behind it. What I want you to see is that those are people who are getting benefits to landlords. We're getting some sort of cash benefits. The other category where there's cash benefits is the SSI caseload. These are people who are permanently disabled according to the federal government. Take a look at those two lines. On a daily basis, I hear there's people who are on the dole. Take a look at that. These numbers are coming down drastically. Here in the county, because of COVID, the majority of the burials I did for COVID was on the SSI caseload. The numbers that are pretty much staying the same way are SNAP, that's the federal dollars coming into the county, and the Medicaid numbers are drastically different. I wanted you to see that slide so you can see what reality is, where we were and where we're going, to really ask me questions about the monthly report. So I've been giving you those three different categories, and it looks like mumbo jumbo. It's like when you walked into the physics class in high school and you said, what the heck was that up on the bulletin board? But let's pull it apart and let's take a look at one of those very good graphs. So if we can just take a look at any year, a single one. Okay, so the stuff that looks like mumbo jumbo, it is the data that I get from the state. I didn't alter it at all. The state agencies are becoming very transparent. They're putting this data up on web pages. You're going to be asked about those categories. So when somebody says how many people are on assistance, what I want you to be able to do is, if you just know three things off this graph, you're going to be able to have an amazing conversation and figure out where we're going in the county. We take a look at the TA caseload. there's 174 cases that represent 279 individuals. Within that caseload, those 279 individuals, 57% of those are children only. Grandparents and aunt uncles taking care of their kids. Very little movement, but that's a pretty amazing number to think that we 279 covered lives for temporary assistance in the county. The next one is the Medicaid caseload. There's 3,582 cases, which represent 3,992. And since nothing in DSS is easy and looks the way it's supposed to be, that number is not even close to what is reality, because the state doesn't want you to know about the other numbers. The real number is 13,985 because of the exchange. We cover the most difficult ones. We do eligibility on the nursing home cases, the 5-year lookbacks, and the ones that the state can't handle. The third category here is where it says the food stamp total related. There's 2,648 cases that represent 4,186 covered lives. And the unduplicated count is 7,886 that we're managing downstairs. So if we can just take a look at those 3 numbers, you can see a lot about the community. And then when somebody asks you a number from another county, you can compare your numbers to those counties without changing any of the stat.
You have any comparisons from other counties? Tell us like what these same numbers would be from Ulster or Columbia or something.
I love that question. And you know what? I have it, but I don't have it here tonight because Sean told me to only take 10 minutes and I could talk for 12 hours. But I can do that. If you want to see that, I would love to entertain you with that.
Well, just give me a quick synopsis. Is it higher, lower, same, what?
Compared to who? There's
Compared to
58
us.
other counties.
I just said 2 counties, Columbia and Ulster. Are their numbers similar to ours or much higher
No,
or
because
much lower?
we're a lower population.
The population.
So you would want to see a percentage.
Well, right, comparison,
Yeah, so we are lower.
comparatively speaking.
Yeah. And, and we can see data from every single county because the states open up all the data. So then I took those 3 charts. What I did is I took the 3 years. So when I give it to you, I basically put the 3 of them together so you can compare the last 3 years and you can see what direction that we're going in. So I think that's where we have a lot of questions. So is that any clearer? Did I confuse you more? Is this exciting, right, Charlie? Charlie, this is
I
exciting.
think so.
Well, see, I have to like it.
Here, I have a question.
Sure.
Of the 3 things you told us about, you mentioned the number of 13,985
Yes,
people.
Yep.
The number, so the difference on the bottom is 7,886, correct?
correct. So this is what I'm carrying downstairs on the 1st and 2nd floor. The number of almost 14,000 I gave you is the total Medicaid number for Greene County
Oh, so the
that's covered.
13,985 is the total number.
Of Medicaid recipients. So it takes our 4,000 up to their 3,921 and it adds the numbers on the exchange.
Okay.
The state takes a while to even give us that data. But that all happened because of Obamacare years ago when they opened up the Medicaid exchange.
That's just due to the management of the program.
So they take the easy cases. They take the working people who need Medicaid as a primary insurance for a wrapper. So questions, what would you like to see me change? What would make it easier? You want to come back again and do it again and give you more numbers compared to other counties? We can do that.
That'd be better.
Thinking percentage rather than actual numbers. So percentage higher population than Columbia, we're percentage higher than Ulster. So that naturally, I would believe they're, for the numbers, you want per capita. Should be higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Percentages we would want to see. Really great.
We can pull that back up.
And Sean's told us, at least we're still housing people from both of those counties here.
Well, DSS is not housing them. Other counties have used other resources. So So tonight, as I stand here, we have 25 homeless people, which is amazing. I had a meeting today with the Eastern Regional Commissioners, 22 counties up the east side of the state. They spend more time in homelessness. It's really been a great squeeze. We manage them every single day. You can see we have people in the community. We're knocking on the doors. We're trying to case manage them. So it's a little bit differently. You just don't pay for somebody's hotel room.
We're down to 25.
What were we last year?
We're at, right?
It's,
What were we, 70, 60?
oh yeah, we were in the high 70s at one point.
High 70s.
Yeah. Now that number may sound really good, but there's no resources left.
So let me ask you a question on homeless. There's a person that floated around through Catskill for a good long time. But I see that now he's migrated in the last 6 months from Catskill to Palmville. And I see him on the side of the road daily. What could we do or should be done about that particular individual? Because it's a daily occurrence, cold weather's coming, and I mean, he's been floating around for a year now. I see him.
And I think Sean used a really good term with me the other day. We've seen the great squeeze from other counties come up to our areas and stuff. And folks who have historically paid their own way in other hotels have come here. There's new people. If we see them, we will have a conversation with them. If they're competent and they're paying their own way, they can do whatever they want as long as they're safe. And we're starting to see other people. I mean, I seen a shopping cart the other day. Didn't even belong in our county. It was a store that's not even here. So how do you get a shopping cart here?
But I mean, this person is well known, and I know everybody in this room knows who I'm talking about. Has the county reached out to him? Does this particular person fall into that purview where he's okay?
If it's the person I believe you're speaking about, he's been spoken to.
I think we actually had it at one point, opted to not stay.
He lives up, well,
It's the same.
travels up by us. I believe he's paying his own way. He's married and it's checked on frequently.
Okay.
Likes to go on the streets.
Carter, what is the process for somebody to, a homeless person to get the benefits from the county? Can they just take a trailway bus from Iowa?
So
come to-
So the state uses a where found rule in homelessness. So if you're not on, say you're on, you have an open case, some sort of case in Columbia County, we can ask somebody to go back. The question is, where did you lay your head the night before? But in the winter, when it's cold blue, it's 32 or less, somebody has to be housed, no questions asked. So they don't have to do any of the work requirements or anything else, but they do need to be housed.
Is it for a certain amount of time that they have to be
There's
housed?
no, if it's cold blue, that could be.
If it's
the whole
non-cold
season.
blue though, what's our application process?
If it's non-cold blue, you have to come in and fill out the regular application. Are you work exempt, or do you need to work? We take a look at that. It's pretty amazing because we work with the college on those numbers. There's only about 22 people who were even eligible to work when we took a look at all the numbers. There's about 2.1 job for every single one of us at this point.
Do you want me to help them find employment?
Yeah, there's a whole employment unit, Esther's.
So they don't necessarily have to have been or are a resident of Greene County or?
According to the state of New York, if you're homeless where found. That goes for every county in the state.
There a waiting period?
There is not a waiting period in code blue, it's automatic.
Not in cold blue.
If you're homeless, that's considered an emergency and you need to be put up. So there's no waiting period. For safety net, it used to be, there was a 45-day wait. The states changed that. There's going to be no longer a 45-day wait even for any sort of benefits.
Is it true that we don't house convicted felons? Not state.
So if you're a fleeing felon, that's against federal law for me to house you. That being said, if it's cold blue, you're going to be housed.
Correct.
So what happens when somebody comes in, their names are run to see if there's any outstanding warrants. And it's pretty amazing because it seems like at least once a week, somebody is fleeing law enforcement for some reason. What's kind of shocking is many times now, those other counties aren't coming to pick up that particular individual.
That's what I was gonna say. They may be fleeing felon. We can house them, but they won't come and get it.
Yeah, so that becomes a little pickle for us to deal with, to figure out what
It's a
we
law
need to do.
enforcement issue. I don't know if you guys know.
No, there's counties and.
So years ago, when I
Municipal
came to the
police
county,
agencies.
when I had a pedophile living amongst, and they were getting county assistance, and they were living with families, there was nothing, you said that there was nothing we could do to not help them. Is that still the case now?
Yeah, so we only place people in emergencies situation in hotels, motels.
No, this
somebody's on
was
public assistance.
amongst, there was 5 families living in a house, 4 of them had children. The 5th one was a pedophile. The county was paying for them. And when I brought it to the attention of you, you said there's nothing I can do. They can live wherever they want to live. Is that still how it is?
That's correct. You can take your public assistance and do it as you choose. If we place you in an emergency situation, you have to follow the rules, and then we decide where you're gonna be placed.
Isn't it time that we do something to change that? Why should the people, County of Greene, support a pedophile amongst families that have young children? There's something that should be done about that. And I believe it's our responsibility to make sure that does not happen again. I saw it happen in my community more than once, and I was not happy about it then. And not to bring this up, I'm not happy about it again.
So the state has made the decisions to make the laws with sex offenders. And then we found out very painfully that we were not allowed to put on any additional laws.
So there's absolutely nothing we can do.
Call your senator, she'll get it done.
You have to go back to.
You
the
guys
state.
might think that's funny, but this is
No,
pretty
this is
serious.
not a funny
I know.
subject, but this is.
Well, don't laugh
obvious.
about
State
it.
issue.
Let me tell you what, when I had to see what was going on in my own community, I wasn't happy about it, and it's something that we have to address.
So,
At the state level.
but he is.
You gotta start somewhere. We're locally, we should come together as a county and say, this is what's going on, and we don't like it.
Do we have that authority? as
Send a
county?
letter.
The count.
You want to protest something, we can send a
We
letter.
don't have that authority. It would have to be the state.
Kyra, when you meet with other commissioners, these things are obviously part of your discussion.
Correct.
And so do you guys as a group, collective group of commissioners, send a letter of recommendations or protests on certain rules and laws that the state puts in place?
You know, we have active, lively discussions, to put it mildly. The administration will be making other changes. I'm being told that my ability to even put in sanctions in the new year is going to be actually in jeopardy if public assistance to clients don't follow the rules. So the pendulum on rules have really swung pretty far the other way.
Yeah, but Daryl has a very serious point, you know, that we should be, maybe as a county, we should put something together to send to our state representatives and say, this needs to be changed.
I mean, this is very serious, obviously. But any elected official on the state level that would support something like this, are they, I mean, huh?
They put it in the law.
Listen, they may not be aware, a lot of them, of what's going on. I mean, this scenario right here needs to be trumpeted. We need to send a letter to the Commissioner of Social Services in Albany. We need to send a letter to our Senator, Assemblyman, the Governor's office. This is serious. It needs to be broadcast.
I can tell you, it aggravated me to no end to find out that my taxpayer dollars were going to support this. And
Can we do the letters, guys?
Pat, I think
Can we do the letters to the Senator, Assemblyman, the Governor, Commissioner of Social Services in Albany?
But where do you want to start?
Where's it? Well, I think all
This
40.
issue we're talking about is pedophile, but the whole issue of
Well, I think this whole scenario needs to be explained in the letter.
what she's explaining, the changes that are going to come about with further loosening, I'm not sure what terminology you want to use, of our ability to make any kind of change locally, you have no power.
Well, I mean, you would obviously be an important part of this, given the information, the body of the letter, but that scenario needs to be explained, detailed in the letter. This scenario.
I can tell you exactly the people they were, where it was and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think folks need to take a look at some of the history and see how we.
We
got
sat in
to
that
where
other
we are.
room, what was it, 4 or 5 years, and I can remember, and I know you remember it.
Well, absolutely, and that's how we found out that we weren't able to do it.
Right,
There
right,
was
you're,
lots of energy that went into that to do something.
exactly. That's why I think it needs to be.
So let me just back up, let me just tell you what happens to me on a daily basis. I get a phone call from docs, the correctional folks. I get a letter, I get a list once a month telling me people are gonna be discharged. I can push back. Sean has sat with me in my conference room in some of those very heated discussions I've had with docs. I don't have any room available. They will pay for a hotel, not a DSS room. They will pay for a hotel that you and I could rent. And they tell me, well, now he's in the county, now you need to do something about it. And I have no rooms available. And that's what the state does. So they bring them here, they pay a different price, it's different rules, and then we have to deal with it. But those inmates are coming back to where they were sentenced.
No, I mean, there's a liability issue here, obviously. And the state needs to know that.
And you know what? I'll tell you what the liability is. I knew personally the landlord of the place. And he was getting a county check and he was happy. And I said to him, I said, you know, you got 4 families with young children living in a house with a pedophile and they're all there. And I used to sit at the bus stop with my kids, with their kids. And these people did not like that. You know what he told me? Maybe you should tell their parents to watch their kids a little better. And you know what? That comes from the county giving him easy money. And I think it's wrong. And it's got to be addressed.
It seems like the laws are coming down from the state. There's just so much you can do. It seems like your hands are tied in many different issues. It has to come from the state.
Right.
But the change has to come from this room right here. That's how you do it. You start here and work upward and don't stop till it's done. This is something has been bothering me forever.
Well, we're gonna send the letters.
I'm not a lawyer, and I get what you're saying, Daryl, the being upset about it. However, even if you look up on a registry, and you can see who's on it. You can't do anything retaliatory towards these people or to subject them. I mean.
There's
you're opening
129
yourself up.
pedophile registered in our county.
Exactly, and you can't tell them where they can live, where they can't live, what they can do and what they can't do.
But I believe,
And I'm not sticking up for them.
I know, but I'm saying that there's certain things that happen to people when you do things wrong. And one of them should be that we don't support you.
Well, that's, I go right back to what I said 10 minutes ago. We need to send these letters. We need to put them on notice. This is the scenario. And anybody, frankly, if they read that, they're gonna have some.
We can
You
certainly
know,
start.
you
certainly
get
start with-
convicted of
yeah.
DWI more than once. You got to blow in a tube to start your car, right? So why would you be able to get living assistance to live amongst young children if you're a pedophile?
Because the law says you can.
No,
unfortunately.
the law should say you have to live so far away from.
Carol, I don't think anybody in this. room
I know, but I'm
disagrees
saying
with you.
there's parameters in our society to stop things. Like I say, DWI, you gotta blow in the tube. That'd be like letting a pedophile live next to a playground. Certain things have to be done. You can't have a bar next to a playground. You can't have a bar next to a school.
On something like, some situations like this, when you say a housing.
This one did. You live less than a quarter of a mile away from the high school.
The dollar amount of the housing assistance going to a person like this, what percentage of it is county taxpayer? And what percentage of it is state taxpayer
So
funded?
how the regulations read, what we currently have are 2 different things because of the employment rates that New York City's been able to do for us. So it's not a black and white answer. If they end up under, in that chart that I gave you, if it ends up under family assistance, the first column, it's 100% federal dollars that are coming in, if there's safety net, and for years, this is what I brought up, safety net, we pay 71%.
The county.
Once they're coded safety net,
71.29.
it ends up being 71% charge.
So in a situation like this, there wouldn't be actual county funds helping this person out who's living with these family members. With kids.
It depends how the case is going.
Well, I certainly think if there's any county funds being used for anything like this, we should say no. We're not giving county funds and make it that much harder for that person to make it here in this county with the assistance. Take our share off of it.
Right.
And say, sorry, no. The state, if they have their laws and they want to send their money, all the state taxpayer monies to assist this with their laws, so be it, but I don't know why if we control the county and the county taxpayers, why are we funding this
Well, and the fact
with
that
county
license
funds?
to do it, she's got to follow the law.
Well,
I understand that, but once again, it really comes to the dollars. I mean, nobody should, in a situation like this, be forced to use their funds to pay for something like this. I mean, if the state wants to pass a law that says we have to give assistance to them and here's the funds to do it, well, you're passing through those funds. You're not passing through county funds, though. So I don't know why we can't restrict it, and in the same breath, you're making it that much harder because they're not getting the full amount they're used to. They're to live here, and let them go live somewhere else then. You're pushing them out of here then, which.
That's why they put the law into effect. So you can't do that.
Don't we have an obligation though to protect? Protect other.
You have an obligation to protect both sides. Realistically.
Oh my God, this is so cool.
in the Constitution, it says we shall provide, so it's really interesting how that's been interpreted.
However, if we do up this letter of protest, would you bring it to all the directors of the other counties so that maybe they then would also follow suit? The more letters that the state gets, they'll pay more attention to.
I just wrote myself a note to send my peers that very request.
I was telling you.
Who has previously adopted a resolution in protest? And I'll list a number of items. It isn't just this issue. There's a number of issues here that we're forced to do as a county in New York. We are created by the state. Greene County didn't create New York State. New York State created Greene County.
Yeah.
And we don't like it, but I have a pedophile that's across the street from me. I hate it.
Can I just say this about convicted pedophiles? After they spend their time incarcerated, whatever the sentence is, with certain exceptions, they have the same constitutional rights as we. Serve their time, they are deemed by the law rehabilitated unless there has been an action brought for continual civil confinement, because the courts have ruled and found under a law called SORA that it's not safe to return these people into our communities and our environments. Absent that, any actions we take, my humble opinion, we're really blowing into the wind. It's just going to come right back at us. It's got all kinds of implications because these problems, and not just this problem, but there are many problems without solutions that we're faced all the time. It's for good reason. There's just a battle of rights.
Well, my point is that there should be parameters set. You should not be able to live amongst people that are gonna, it's just wrong. We should not be promoting them to live within other families. You know what I'm saying? That it's just like the
I understand what you're saying.
Just like the tooth I mean,
Was it his family?
What?
Was it his family?
No, it was 4 other individual families. It was a 5-apartment complex, 4 families. All the other 4 families had small children. This guy's a pedophile. We're paying him to live amongst the other families.
Isn't there a registered pedophile law about being a certain distance from schools?
Yeah.
Maybe tightening that up.
What's the difference?
But now you're putting the wolf in the hen house. So
No, what I'm saying is they don't allow a registered pedophile to be next to a school.
No, I know,
So,
but there should be a law that
The practicality
If you're gonna
is
pay
if you can't
somebody,
live next to a house with children is probably.
they shouldn't be living amongst children. is my
Right,
point.
100%.
They're already on the list.
All right, so we're gonna do the letters. That takes, I mean, that's it.
So you
You're
will go-
suggesting really comes down to whether, I think, whether or not somebody with this very checkered past can live in a multiple family dwelling.
Something like that. There should be a parameter.
You're
set.
never gonna get that. That is, I mean, that's.
Take a downstate. Just think, that's what the votes are.
Okay, so I'll take a look at that. Let's see what we have. If I can just get back to the report, because I thought I was here on reports. I'm so sorry. And we ended up over here.
Don't be sorry. The last thing you should do is be sorry, because this is a conversation that should happen.
So what would you like to see in the report? What would you like me to change?
The other thing I would like, if you could include, I know we spoke about it briefly, the homeless numbers, perhaps that we have maybe like a monthly total, like the sheriff gives us some information on.
So her 25 that she reported tonight.
Right, so maybe it's
Next
this
week is
month.
26.
Right, so like an average, you know, he was saying like an average number that we have incarcerated.
Yeah, he gives first day of the month, last day of the month. and the high.
Something similar to that of homeless. You know, and then maybe we compare that to a previous year. And then the other thing is like, you know, how many CPS reports do we get on an average per month?
So I do have those reports.
Right,
Could you put that up?
well, you have that graph, but the graph is, you know, I'm thinking, is there a way that we could just get it in like a table? You know, or just say November, you know, X number of homeless. November, X number of CPS reports have been made.
But that's, so you don't want the graph, you want a list? Because I mean, the graph tells you the numbers.
For every
I know,
single-
I see that, but
Every month, the sheriff and highway department, there is a typed up thing that'll say, the sheriff will say, we had this many phone calls, this many report, and then he'll get up and he'll read the report as well. The highway superintendent will have something typed up of these are the roads we're working on, these are the projects. Like these graphs are kind of cute, but I don't know what all those letters mean. They don't spell anything. SN, FNP, you know what I'm saying? So if it would be something that would just be in layman's language, so we would know how many, you know, how many people came in for benefits this month, how many came off of benefits, how many homeless people.
or the
do
number
we
that
have?
we're placing in housing.
Right,
you know,
like just a system, it doesn't have to be a graph, just something typed up every month so we can kind of see what's going on in the county in the DSS department. So, I mean, it is a huge department, you know, with a huge budget. And we would just like to know a little more about what's going on in it.
So how about if we try a couple renditions of it, because every time we change something, then it takes more time to pull it out and pull the numbers together, and sometimes I'm 2 months behind on numbers. I mean, I'm not a highway department, I'm not the sheriff's department. It's just, it's very.
We probably know like how many, you know, how many homeless do we have? How many reports have been filed? How many, you know, people are we placing in a house, you know, or an apartment in the month? It doesn't have to be something complex. I think even just like a table format would be helpful.
It's a huge chunk of the budget in this department, and all we get are these little graphs, and honestly, my eyes are not that good, and usually the graphs are smaller than this too. I can't understand them. I don't know if anybody else is having that issue. But it's a huge chunk of the budget, and I think we should be a little more informed about, you know, monthly, what's going on in it. That's all.
But just so you know, these numbers do have the budget implications. They are the overall numbers. I mean, this is state data. I didn't alter it.
I
at all.
understand, but I don't work for the state. I'm like, I just think a little more simplified, you know, not a fill in the blank graph like these are. a little more simplified. And so I don't know what all these letters mean. I don't know, does everybody else here know what all these letters on this graph mean?
No.
Or is it just me? Am I stupid?
No, I mean,
Okay.
TA, temporary assistance, and then Medicaid MA, and then
Right,
Food
that I
stamps,
get, but
right.
like all these
That's
other ones,
there.
I don't know. I just think that.
I don't
with-
think we need to know all that though.
No,
I don't.
What I think you're looking for is an oral report, just like they do. I mean, you don't even really need a graph, just say, we had 25 at the beginning of the month. At the end of the month, we had 12, the highest point was 36.
a simple, the simple thing is not, we don't need all the details, but just a little more communication. I know you're here every month at the meeting, but and me, I don't know, maybe we should be asking you to come up every month and talk to us about what's going on in the department. I just feel that we are not informed as much as I would like to be. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I don't feel that I know a lot about what's happening. They said the homeless people, that's never on the graph.
I would have to agree with Patty, just being someone who's, fairly new and kind of trying to sort through all the numbers and everything. How the other departments have it set up is pretty clear. Not that this isn't, it's clear, it doesn't, all of it doesn't make sense to me.
I was really hoping there would be a core group that would take me up on my offer to come in. I report to 3 state agencies. There's many programs that aren't even mentioned in here. Lots of moving parts. There's implications from everything that I do. It's like a chessboard that's set up. And to really get involved, to take a look at not only the numbers, but the budget implications. It's very difficult to do that in one piece of paper to show what actually happened by us. So I was really hoping that a couple of you would want to get together. We could take a look at that. We could have some crucial conversations, because I don't know what you want. I'm trying to pretend that I know what you want. That's why I'm not altering the data for you. We need to compare apples to apples.
Right.
But there's big changes coming at us. And I always feel that Albany just wants to just stop us in these conversations. And we need to see a lot of data, real data, not me creating different data. Because then we're not really looking at what we need to look at. That Medicaid line alone can bring us to our knees. And Albany will probably do that at some point.
Right, they're
Just
gonna.
because they have a cash crisis, they're telling us.
Damn right they.
And those are the conversations. I mean, I just, sometimes I feel like I'm given busy work that really doesn't matter. It's these other things that we need to be taking a look at. But I don't know how to get that across because it's very complicated.
All right, well, Kyra and I will work together. I'll get some data points that she can give in a similar fashion as the sheriff does and 911 does. And then we'll, under the continuous improvement process, our first report, we will amend it to the second report, we'll amend it to the third report, and get to some database that you want to see on a monthly basis.
I think, Kyra, and maybe once a year, it's just like almost like a family tree of your department. Commissioner branching off, how many caseworkers, things like that.
Table organization.
Table organization, shortfalls, where we're short, where, some direction you may see things, direction, that's just something I like. I like seeing organization. I like seeing where you're at, where you're short, where you think things may be moving. Like you said, with the state changing some things, potentially always staying ahead of it somewhat.
Well, I can tell you, I need housing, transportation, and staffing.
She probably continuously runs a 5 to 10% vacancy.
It's 12%.
12%. And just the last question, I know you see obviously in the news about the buses coming up here with people who crossed our border illegally. Do you have to handle any of these cases in our county?
I haven't seen any yet. That doesn't mean that they're not
Yeah,
here.
she and I talked about this 2 or 3 months ago when she came to me saying that the availability that we have in our hotel model, we only have X amount of rooms.
Right.
And what often happens is the surrounding counties poach. They send people up here. And I've had to call down to the Ulster County Executive Office because they won't tell us and they'll put a pedophile in a hotel that we've already got people in. And then she has to scramble and move the chessboard because another county has placed somebody without telling us. And I've screamed more than once to Ulster County. It's bad enough that you're poaching our rooms. It's criminal that you're not telling us who you're putting in, because the community doesn't know that someone just got moved from Ulster to Greene. They just see, the hotel and figure, okay. And my concern is, as the migration of immigrants get sent to the city, those people then get pushed north.
Right.
And we can't say we have an illegal immigrant housed, but we certainly can say that there's a migration of other residents who used to be in Westchester or whatever are moving to Ulster, and then Ulster is moving to Greene, and the wave continues.
Is there a way that the county can contract with these lodging, hotel to buy up the rooms and be able to hold those rooms so other counties can't?
You can, the risk you run is that they can say you're still paying for the room.
Yeah, I know, but
But we just have a limited number of
Better
rooms,
off in an
period.
empty room.
Right.
well, potentially. I mean, I don't know, just throwing things out there, see if,
As Connor said earlier, some of these hotels you and I might not stay in.
right.
Okay, let's say that diplomatically.
You
Say
have
the
to do a
least.
cost benefit analysis of all the open rooms to make a determination.
Sure.
You want to go-
Where's the nexus on the finances as to how many vacancy factors you'd have? versus-
Absolutely.
Yeah, versus trumping another county from able to put somebody here because we've
Right.
already reserved the room.
Right.
But the one thing about the empty room is if you're paying for it, you're just paying for the room. Because with that room goes services. So I can't imagine you're not saving money. Right?
But every client has a different need for
No, I
services.
know what
so
you're
it-
saying.
There's a cost benefit ratio
It would
that I
look
calculated.
like-
But your point is well taken.
Myra, I just have one other question. This involves, children. What is the age, or do you know the law where the children can be left home by themselves to get ready for school by themselves?
That's interesting because that comes up in CPS. So, what's the functional ability of a child? How responsible can they be? You shouldn't be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old and be left alone. But there's 12-year-olds, there's 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds who can be.
Latchkey kids. I mean,
So is there a law that, with an age level? We have children in
It
that are getting ready themselves and getting themselves on the bus in the morning.
It depends on the scale and what the investigation is going to show and how that family's made up and
But
what's
to answer the
established.
question, no, I don't believe there's a definitive law that's no one under 12 or no one under 10.
But there is a law that at a certain age, but the student can't get off a bus. Because I know at home, if there's not a parent standing there being seen, at a certain age, you can't get off the bus and go home. They'll take you back to the school, make the parent come pick you up.
Presumably.
So there
I think
has
that
to
should
be.
be added to our.
There is something about that. You can't leave a child alone at a certain age. I know that.
There's kids that are getting ready for school by themselves with no parent at home and putting themselves on the bus that are not teenagers. To me, I think that's
Well,
wrong.
we wouldn't have that data of a school bus driver bringing somebody back.
No.
No,
I'm just
but
saying that
getting
there is a
themselves ready
certain
for
age.
school in the
That
morning.
could be a school policy.
That
That's
could be,
school,
but I mean,
that's
there is-
definitely a school policy,
Okay.
definitely a school policy.
So right now, there's nothing in place for that.
If the hotline takes a report for an investigation, again, I don't know how many calls are made, but the hotline doesn't even accept the report for a situation like that.
Okay.
So really, they're looking for what was the impact, just like when we get hotlines from the school district to say that, the kid missed 120 days. But if that child passes that grade, then there's no longer an impact. And I've seen that happen. I've seen incredible amounts of time that kids have missed school, but then the school district, pass them on to the next grade. So it's really all about the impact and what was seen. Any other questions? We kind of ended up
No, you just about got your 10 minutes done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
That was fun. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Not yet, not yet. Did Stephanie leave? She was there, she did leave? Could you find out, because last month I asked if a particular, because we were looking for that RN to come in and do that. I was wondering if she spoke to her, because I spoke to the person I was talking about, and nobody in the county had contacted her with the information about being hired as an RN. So I was just wondering what happened with that.
John, no, she spoke to the RN that you mentioned.
Well, why she hasn't?
No, she didn't, because I talked to her last week and the girl was hired.
What we're doing is the agencies that we have existing contracts with, but in the past have had trouble recruiting their own personnel. Is that we've asked them to give us a proposal. They would have to increase the rates that they're paying, but they would then be able
This
to
was
hire
something separate.
and then do home visits.
This was something that was brought up at the meeting that Ken put in the budget, and it was asked a bunch of times. It was put in the budget that an RN would be hired to facilitate someone to go on the mountain and do home visits.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know, but
If you hire the agency, they have the responsibility to hire the nurse. If there are people, then we have to hire the nurse in order to monitor the activity.
so
that
we
they do.
changed that after it was put in the budget.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I don't want to hire people. I'd rather get a contracting agency to do the work so that I don't have legacy costs and union issues and that kind of stuff. We have agencies. They've had trouble getting people to work because part of their formula is they only pay for care in the house. They don't pay for drive time.
But that's why Stephanie and Ken brought this idea up, and it was put in the budget, as far as I know, and he even said it when we were doing it. And if they're having trouble finding it now, and we had somebody ready to go, and nobody talked to them, I'm not understanding, we're not.
Because I don't have the
same
staff
direction.
for that nurse to supervise.
The hold up was we needed an RN. As far as I know, we had somebody who's gonna do it.
I don't have.
Well, without Stephanie being here, I can't, what,
Well, we'll ask her.
I don't have.
Get back to her.
home Health aides in the budget. We closed the CHOP.
no, that Ken said it was in the budget, right? You were at that meeting. It was gonna be in the budget. It was brought up.
Yes, we
So it's
do,
in the budget.
but I don't want to hire anybody.
Well, I got sick people on the mountaintop. I don't want sick.
That's correct. I want to get a contractor to do it
But we have been trying to do that for how long now?
because we were using the old formula.
Okay,
Now I've told them, yes, if you have to raise the rates to us, including a mileage reimbursement or something like that, give us a proposal. She is working on that. They both agreed, both of the agencies have agreed with an increased contractual amount. They have staff that they will put in service to do these home visits.
so,
And then they have the responsibility to monitor
Without being a county employee.
without being a county employee.
Just so you know, and I'm sure you do, we didn't close that service. The county privatized it and sold it. And whoever they.
no, I
sold it
understand that, but the problem is that the mountain's suffering because of it.
There's a lot of.
And not only, and I shouldn't say the mountain, there's other outlying regions.
There's
and regional
19
stuff.
people right now who are asking for home assistance. I believe 5 of them are on the mountain.
I can tell you that there's a lot of people that on the mountain want it, can't get it, and are upset about it. So I'm sure there's a lot more than 5.
Well, what'll happen is the 19 will become 38, will become 76 overnight when there's a service provider to do the work. And then we're gonna have to, whether it's an employee or a contractual obligation, our budget will pay the price of that service.
Those are our people, we gotta take care of them. Doesn't matter where they are. There's a lot of them in Greenville and everywhere else.
Huh?
I've said there's a lot of them in Greenville, everywhere, and they're not getting the the things that they should. And
I wanted to thank Stephanie publicly because she went above and beyond to help one of the Catskill seniors that needed assistance
Bless you.
with our director at the senior center. And, you know, definitely out of her job description to do any of that. So I felt like we all should know that she's going above and beyond doing her job and specifically helping one of our seniors. So I'm sorry that she left, but Sean, if you could relay that message to her.
I can pass that on.
Well, Sean, on the whole proposal that you know, asked these providers to send to you, do you feel confident that there's gonna be something that's gonna?
They say that they have employees that they can hire if they had the dollar amount per hour to give to them.
Okay.
this is something we've been going through for years. The county gave them the $2 an hour phone bonus, which they only get when they're in the house. The whole system's set up wrong. And I can't blame the people that work there because, yeah, I would go to Catskill too when I can bang out 10, 12 houses in a day rather than going to Mountaintop, Greenville, or some of these outlying areas where you can only get 2 or 3. It's all about money. That's why when we had people to work, yeah, we had legacy costs and everything else, but I can tell you what, when my mother had dementia up on the mountaintop and needed help, and Janet used to come up and take care of her, give my father a break, that was the best thing that ever happened. That don't happen now. We can't get people up there to take care of people that need help. That's the problem. You got to decide whether you're gonna pay to get the right service, or you're just gonna nickel and dime it and not worry about it. It's wrong what's going on. People need help and we're not providing it.
That's where
We've been going through this contract thing forever and they say they can't get the help. We had the help. We shot ourselves in the foot by getting rid of it. And I hope nobody in this room ever needs that help. Because I'm gonna tell you, I see it all the time, and what happens is not right.
close the job for $1.7 million.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes money's not everything. We got money coming in, hand over fist, with sales tax, everything else, you hear it all the time. I mean, you can't say money. People lived in this county their whole lives, paid taxes, done stuff, and they get nothing. It's not right.
Just move on.
Okay, we have a second for adjournment. We are adjourned.
You lost control, my
Oh,
friend.
my God.
Oh, my God. You're welcome, gentlemen. You're welcome.
Take that long, you're gonna be in trouble. Do a 5-minute recess.
I like having meetings like that.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Change it up.
You're gonna come into this building, I want to think it's yours.
I know, but worthwhile, it's good.
Okay, I'd like to open Public Works Committee at 7:02.
Wow.
Highway Superintendent's report? Make it short, Scott.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
It's a model report for other departments.
I think we all need to take a deep breath. Yes, please. All right. Hopefully I'll go through as quickly as I possibly can. We have a lot of positive. At the end of the year, we did a tremendous amount of construction, almost $6 million worth of construction this year. Far more than what we ever had prior to this. And we got a lot of additional funding from New York State for infrastructure. But for projects moving forward, County Route 83 culvert pedestrian bridge is projected to be let in March of 2023, which allows that to be constructed next year. 40 and 61 are still on the agenda because they're moving forward. They're on schedule. Timberlake and Bloomer Road also letting for probably January of next year. And those 2 projects are projected to be constructed next year as well. So we should have a very busy construction season next year. Some of the projects that we're crossing off the list and no longer hopefully discussing is County Route 2 slope stabilization,
GSI and Evergreen Mountain Construction did an excellent job. Overall, we were about $36,000 under budget. That road is open just before this past storm that we currently had. Kennery 20 Bridge in Cornwall, over Cornwall Creek in Durham, that's reopened. We have Kennery 2 and the Platte Clove Bridge. Those are projected to go next year. Platte Clove Bridge, unfortunately, we're looking at some of the design alternatives, and it looks like it might be a good candidate for the Bridge New York program, just because with local 100% funding, it's probably not in our wheelhouse to fund that much. But it would be, I think, a great candidate for Bridge New York. That would allow additional funding and to get it more aesthetically similar to what that structure is. It's not a historic structure, but it's a very old structure that I think Bridge New York would be a better candidate.
That the slide on 61 was on this list.
Yes,
Previously it came off. Are we still looking at that?
we're still looking at that. This 61, the lower portion, there's 3 slides on 61. The 2 upper portions, we're trying to figure out design alternatives for those. But the lower one is part of the 61 bridge project. But the 2 upper ones were the GSI, the contractor that did Kennery 2 slope stabilization. They said those 2 slides actually wouldn't be good candidates for what we did. So
The methodology that they use?
yes, that construction technique with these soil nail. So we're trying to come up with something, a different alternative. But anything that we do on 61 is probably going to be in excess of what we did on 2, which was well over $1 million. So and there's no real additional funding through the state for slope stabilization and slides. It's for bridge and road work. So we wouldn't be able to submit that really for CHIPS funding. We do have 2 additional projects that we're going to put on here. We're working with the CWC for grant funding for the Kennery 1 culvert Halkett. That would do 100% design costs and about 85% of the construction costs, which is, this is the first time we've worked directly with CWC, so it's moving smoothly right now. Hopefully it works out and we can continue working with them. It's a similar process as what we've worked with Greene County Soil and Water, which we are right now working with them for Kennery 23C culvert in Jewett. It's in front of the Jewett Town Hall building. So those are 2 projects we're putting on our schedule. We also have a couple of miscellaneous bridge projects that we'd like to look at. And like I said before, the Bridge New York funding, there's additional funding through Bridge New York. We're looking to put a couple more bridges on that. As you saw yesterday, we were in snow and ice control season. We had, the forecast was all over the map. On Friday, it was 3 inches and wasn't going to start until late Sunday evening. We got 6 inches and we had crews out all day long yesterday.
And they did a good job.
Thank you. It was our first real storm here in the valley, so it worked out. I think we did well. Hopefully we continue. We are trying some alternate ways to remove the snow. We're treating some salt piles with some additives. With what New York State is doing to the Adirondacks, they're trying to reduce the salt that they put on the roads. I'm assuming that those procedures and that laws are going to start edging further and further south. So I'd like to get ahead of that before we are mandated to do it, like most things that New York State has done.
I'm sorry, explain that. A ratio between salt and sand?
They're trying to reduce the amount of salt content that you put on the roads. So they really want to get rid of all the salt because they said it's a negative impact to the environment.
Are they going to the brine?
In the park up
So
there.
there's all sorts of different procedures. There's brines.
That's for the Adirondacks or that's for New York State?
That's the Adirondacks, but they have a committee on salt in New York State, and they're forcing it on the Adirondacks right now because it's a New York State park. But I'm assuming that what happens up there is slowly going to be distributed throughout the state.
Are they using the brine in the park?
It's a brine, it's magnesium chloride, there's calcium chloride, there's different mixtures. Calcium is
That's better than
incredibly
salt.
corrosive.
Huh?
That's better than salt.
Yeah.
It's,
Stronger bones.
you can use a lot less.
Some of the brine
You
is
can reduce
natural.
it by,
Some of the brine is natural beet juice.
they've tried alternatives for beet juice. and
I know the Thruway use.
I know we have a product that we're using that's 20% magnesium chloride and molasses.
Mhm.
That's how they're controlling. They're putting the deer in.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, bring the
deer and bear will be right on the road.
Yes.
But that's, the brine does control the salt prior to.
Invasive species that we're suffering from on the roads.
It does not kill them, unfortunately. I'd love to, I mean, the Japanese knotweed is incredibly invasive.
South Carroll.
Throughout Greene County.
South Carroll's got a bad by the
We're
creek,
trying everything that we can
at Japanese.
to eliminate it, but there's really nothing DEC and DEP they're trying to come up with because it is choking the streams. up in
What's it called again? Japanese?
Japanese knotweed, there's a couple, Japanese knotweed.
Knotweed, okay.
Something else coming up.
There's a couple other ones that are starting to come into this area. But DEP and DEC are just as adamant of trying to get rid of it.
They are.
It's in New York City watershed, it's being, because you could see it throughout all the streams and water courses. We have started our diesel fuel treatment, double dosing our diesel fuel. It's a treatment conditioner that we use in our fuel during this time of year. It lowers the freezing point and the gelling point. That's worked extremely well. Harry has worked at our garage manager. And we're going to continue that. It seems to be working well for our engines and our equipment. So we're going to continue doing that process.
We hot plug everything every night.
The ones that work, yes.
They got a light bulb under the hood.
Yeah. There's a toss up between what you do. Some of the equipment we bring inside, there's a thought out there that salt and heat is a great chemistry experiment on corrosion. So there are some municipalities that keep their equipment outside because they think that you're not gonna get the corrosion. But this magnesium chloride that we're using is almost 25% less corrosive than actual salt. So it shouldn't do anything to our equipment.
Long as they take care of it and hose it down, wash it down afterwards.
Isn't there a neutralizer that you can spray on it?
We do have a neutralizer.
Yep.
So we do, and we provide it to all of our buildings.
I gotta tell you, I mean, with the cost of your trucks, they gotta take care of it. They've gotta do,
Right.
that's gotta be like,
Absolutely.
I mean,
But
just,
you can see that, I mean, our Oshkoshes that we've had around for 15, 20, 30 years, 40 years. I mean, I think there's a 57 out there.
Hey, it's a great year.
But I mean, the steel isn't the same steel as what's in our new trucks.
oh, yeah, that's true.
They're not made quite the same. So, but we certainly try to do everything we can to keep them on the road.
10-wheeler is working out well.
Yes. Absolutely. The new ones, yeah, the internationals that we have are working out well. Automatic seems to be, there was a little pushback on it, but it seems to go over well with
They're
the,
bulletproof, those transmissions.
yeah, so they were spec'd out properly. It was good.
Helps.
Well, even the automated, I mean, if they come up, they can still override that or.
Yeah, there's certainly, there's a blast where you can blast hills, puts out more at certain locations where you know there's bad spots. We're treating all of our salt now, so it should hopefully works. Reduces the amount of what we spend on our salt, so.
Enough bodies to put in trucks.
We have seen an uptick, I mean, in applications, qualified applications. We're trying to bring a couple people on, a few have been brought on Listen, Mountaintop, we're struggling with qualified employees. And that's
You have 26 routes?
roughly.
So when you redo the bridge on Boomer Road,
Yes.
and you're gonna do your detours, my concern is you are gonna look at that culvert on the Gooseberry to make sure that that can handle the,
We will, I mean, if the road's not capable, then we'll have to detour them somewhere else. But unless the village tells us that we can't.
no, I know, but you know my concern on that, and it's.
Yes.
So it's just, I'm trying to avoid I know what's gonna happen.
Scott, I know I've asked this before, but I really think, what is the process to get sidewalks going through Leeds? Specifically Main Street in Leeds and where the new development is with those tiny homes and our property.
All the way out through that corridor.
At least sections of it. Yeah, especially Main Street. Leeds has become a populated area and the sidewalks are a mess.
It's a complicated area. There's sidewalks that, I mean, we've walked them, I've walked them. There are sidewalks that go underneath awnings of structures. It's a kind of a right-of-way mess. Where do you put the sidewalks? There's a lot of different suggestions, and
Is that a county road or federal?
it's a federal aid eligible road, so there would be funding available if there's a.
For the road.
For the road, and if
Sidewalk.
there's sidewalks that were,
Use it sidewalks too.
we'd have to do a linkage study with that area. We'd have to hire an engineering firm to do that, and then we can go to the state and try to get funding through the federal process.
I think you need to concentrate from the bridge through to, not quite down to the firehouse, but I think that section needs to be concentrated on both sides. It's bad.
We were working with B&L, trying to get some sort of linkage study.
Stay down.
And the town.
The town would have to partner.
We're not a sidewalk business.
No, he's asking what the process would be. The town would pick up the.
Yeah, and
Cost of it.
the new sidewalks on state roads, the town of Greenville, not Greenville.
Yeah, Carroll, the town of Carroll did it, but they helped. So he's asking the process.
Right.
They had an incentive when.
That was
on
a county road, right?
Yeah, but we don't do sidewalks.
Not so much us.
Yeah, but even on the county road,
Matt,
Matt,
you would pay for.
Counties.
But not financially.
The town did.
The county would make sure that your
The forms.
That's a whole
culverts and
concrete.
your catch basins and then your blacktop, the road itself, but then
be
sidewalk.
careful though, Matt, because once those sidewalks are in, they're reverted over to the town, and you're responsible for upkeep and everything.
No, the town is gonna be responsible all the way along. I mean, because it's town property.
Right, but I'm just saying that that's, when these
I
sidewalks
don't
go
think
in.
the town has the capability to do like.
What I
studies and all
have
that
seen
stuff.
with sidewalks is when a sidewalk is installed, it reverts to the town, and then the town passes a law that says it's the responsibility of the property owner. Now you're passing that responsibility onto the homeowner or the business owner or whoever it is.
But there's a 24-hour window of liability before the property owner.
Right.
So, I mean, look, all towns have done it, so.
But they are, at the end, they're responsible.
After 24 hours.
So being on that federal corridor, I mean, there must be grant funding.
There's.
So the town of Catskill,
We'd have to apply, yes. We'd
so
have
we
to-
could assist the town of Catskill in that application, I would think, right?
Correct. And I've been in discussions with B&L about that. It's a lengthy process, but we're still in discussions with them.
They focus, it has to be ADA,
Yes.
meet their standards for those sidewalks.
Right, there's gotta be crosswalks marked,
Right.
there's gotta be certain measurements as to curbing. Handicap. Yeah, we went through it in Carroll.
And then I had someone ask me in Jefferson Heights across from the hospital and where the Pines is. They questioned about a crosswalk being in that location. What is the process for that? Because it's DOT. That would be state DOT?
that a crosswalk right there,
Right.
that's Greene County, but we'll look into it, but that'll be a very tough location to.
That's what I thought
You'd have to
too.
put caution lights up and everything else there. That's a tough,
They said there's a lot of, I guess, employees that walk from the Pines crossing that street and there's no crosswalk or no sidewalk on
Crossover.
that side of the street to then go to Cumberland Farms. That was the issue that I heard.
Right. I will certainly look at it.
The state put it in those sidewalks though.
That was a pass-through project. The county ended up doing that project.
we did it. I was on the legislature.
Sidewalks
Yes,
up
we
there?
did. Yes, we did. Keith Valentine was involved in that.
Yes, that was another one that Greene County was a pass-through project. We installed the sidewalks and then the sidewalks passed on to the town and the town then passed the law saying that it was the property owners. That's how we are responsible.
Yep.
From.
They said there's a lot of people trying to cross the street at that location. There's no crosswalk. There's no traffic. Right.
Yeah, I drive that.
Plus Cumbies.
And there's no sidewalks.
Plus Cumbies is one down too. Yeah.
Right, and there's no crosswalks there either, and no sidewalks on that side.
Across
of the
from
street.
the cable companies, right? That's where you want the crosswalk. But there's no crosswalks to get to.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Scott, Sherry and myself would like to thank you and Paul for helping us get the recycling back up and running in Carroll. I know the containers are gonna start coming in Thursday, so we thank you both.
She sees that.
Where's the pickup down by the?
It's gonna be down by the board in the park. They just put a new fence up.
South is open tomorrow.
And yes,
Walking the cemetery.
All right, Facebook, official
it's
now.
on Facebook, so it must be true.
It must be true.
Already?
Will there be a grand opening or a ribbon cutting?
You got a golden bag of trash you're throwing in.
Well,
Don't be late.
yes, no, there will not be. I'm not a big ribbon cutting.
Charlie got the first bag, right?
Everything moved
It'll be open tomorrow.
already?
And opening tomorrow.
Scales are all set.
Scales will work.
How's your long hauler working out, the new guy?
Well, they're actually, they've been doing extremely well for us. Yeah, even after the fire in Catskill.
And you've got him set up for hauling right out of Kentucky, all set?
Yep.
You're on it? How's that coming?
Awning's installed. I have a picture of it.
Wow,
Looks great. Right before the storm.
thank you.
And 88 compliance steps. So everything's good.
Oh, there's a step there now?
All OSHA certified steps, they're all in place.
Thank you.
Great job, Scott.
Okay, we have one proposed action item, authorizing the purchase of one used Ottawa Model 30 yard tractor.
Martinez, Hobart.
Martinez and Hobart, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Make a motion to adjourn?
Right here.
Leonard Hobart.
Another fine mess you got.
I'm not gonna cut my place tonight.
Huh?
Not gonna cut my place.
Ready? I'd like to open Economic Development and Tourism Committee at 7:23. We have Director Warren Hart and James Dennis with us, who's doing a great job with our Economic Development Corporation. You want to say anything? Either one of you?
No report to give, but I will draw attention to item number 2 and 3, the resolution on the agenda. We're getting our micro enterprise program back on track again with James's assistance. And he's been working on a grant application to Office of Community Renewal to get us back into the micro enterprise grant program again. So we have to hold public hearings for those. So we'll hold those public hearings in January. And James will give a we can read into the record about opportunities for residents to access the block grant program and details on the grant application.
Very good. We have 5 proposed action items tonight. First one is declaring a negative declaration of environmental impact under State Environmental Quality Review Act, (SECRA), for the purchase of the Cooksaki Transfer Station.
Village.
Huge and Handle. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's passed. Number 2, setting public hearing, community development block grant application, micro enterprise assistance program.
Lennon.
Lennon and True, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's passed. Number 3, setting public hearing, community development block grant program. Overbaugh. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's passed. Number 4, appointing and reappointing members to the Tourism Advisory Committee.
Rivera.
Lavera, Lennon, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That-
Same.
Did you say you? Oh, okay.
My name's
Oh,
on.
you're on it. Okay. Number 5, budget amendment, economic development, tourism and planning, insurance recovery. for Cute little vehicle, Overbaugh. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's passed. Anything else to come before economic development and tourism?
Linda, when's the next TAC meeting?
Oh, no, haven't heard. You know,
I think it's gonna be in January.
January probably.
January,
sometime.
could you just send an email a week or so ahead of time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know when that's gonna be.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Move to adjourn, Handle. We are adjourned.
Who was the second?
I'll second it.
Oh,
Handle Bloomer.
Handle Bloomer. Bloomer Handle.
Well done, Linda.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Okay, take lessons. Get us out of here tonight sometime. That's fine.
Okay, I'd like to open government operations at 7:27. We have a few proposed action items, but first I would like to invite the director of the IT department, Greg Warren, up to speak.
Oh.
I'm only gonna use 5 minutes.
No graphs.
No graphs. No, just want to introduce myself. Been an exciting first 6 weeks. No, I mean that. It was good. We identified some areas for improvement. We've stabilized our intranet, our wide area network. We worked with a couple of different vendors on that. State Controller's report.
You all recall the audit report?
Yeah. Of the 11 action items, 10 are complete.
Yay.
That's great.
Remediated.
Good job.
We're working on, I don't know what to call it, SOPs.
Right,
Policies and procedures. So we'll get those out the door, hopefully in a month or so. We'll have it out for your review first.
Now, have you been dealing with the controller's office on those 10 items?
No.
All right, well, you feel confident that you got them where
Oh, yeah,
their recommendations,
Oh, yeah.
okay?
absolutely.
Good.
So we did that.
big item there was 154 of our laptop computers were on Microsoft 7, which was, I think, also in 1957 when it was.
Yeah, that hasn't been supported
Right.
3 years.
So those are all gone.
They're all gone except for one.
So one that's not connected to the internet.
Correct.
So there's no,
And we've been working, upgrading security cameras, remediating what we have until we get the final project in place for the complete overhaul. So
the,
we're in good shape.
where the catalytic converter was recently borrowed down at the Allen Street, that's now been totally cambered. And both he and Craig can have it right on their phone. We have motion detectors and that kind of stuff. Signage now that, it's Maya around Candy camera. We had the bid specs for this building. That's gonna be a very big project. We're still filtering through that, the detail of that. That'll be the next big project. That'll be a big project.
Are there any local companies from Greene County that can handle projects like this?
The Allen Street was done by the Cooksaki company. This building is gonna be such a big project that will be under the microscope for prevailing wage on this one. So he can still bid. We'll have to get him the information on kind of wages, but Craig was ecstatic about, he was done like in a day and a half and
Did a nice job.
everything was done well.
I would love to see him do this building if he can,
Yeah, I would too.
if he can make the bid. But that's just, it's the way I have to go on this one.
Gotcha.
So, but we're pretty good. We've,
Now, you're involved in this, getting the scales for our new transfer stations up and running too, right?
correct.
Computerizing them, that they're all working.
The Coxsackie station right now, the scales are up.
Mhm.
They are not communicating with the software, so they still have to hand punch in.
Right.
Friday, we're bringing in the scale vendor and the software vendor at the same time to meet, to figure out how to make.
How to communicate.
But they read accurately, they show up, everything's mounted. Pretty slick.
But
We're good down there.
If you haven't toured Cooksaki, I would encourage you to
Yeah,
tour it. Came out great.
a little slippery this morning.
Yeah, so was my driveway.
Any plans to upgrade our email system? Because I still can't send in an email from the county.
So what we're, short answer, yes. Timeframe, I'm not 100% sure yet. Probably between January and March, we'll be making the move to Office 365 in its entirety and get rid of the legacy system that we have. And then it's just a matter of using your iPhone,
Right.
any laptop that has internet connectivity, just log into office.com with your ID.
Set off thin clients. Basically,
Cloud solution.
run.
Cloud solution, yeah. Run it on any device that has internet connectivity.
so that's the state system.
That's, yeah, that's exactly.
So we'll use the state. That's good.
We have,
That year.
we have it partially up and running right now. We're just gonna fine tune some of the aspects of it, then we can start to roll out.
Yeah, that's good. We get that.
If anybody's ordering cards, we will begin to migrate to the new email, the new address, the .gov address versus the .com. If anybody's close to reordering, make sure you remind that we want to drop your just at Discover Greene and move to Greene County, New York.gov. It's a better secure system. Even though people who still use the old system, then will be directed, but we want to get into the .gov experience.
So Greg, is there going to be any, are you going to look at, like, for example, I get an email here, it's bounced to my home email, right? I think a lot of other people are too. Are you looking at any safeguards there? I know we had some issues in the past.
With them forwarding or security?
Well, when it comes to Discover Greene,
Yep.
and then it's sent to my,
It's
to my
Personal.
It's
personal,
It's
right?
auto forwarding.
That's how I read it. Yeah.
Yeah. You won't need to do that anymore.
Once we get to Office, once we get to Office 65.
Because you're in the cloud.
So that'll be, okay, good.
And the old email addresses will stay live. We're trying to figure out how long, because Discover Greene is all over the
All
place.
over.
We can't get rid of it.
So it'll be years before we get.
It'll be just,
It'll be the background. Your business card will still have the .gov, but,
anyone that still has your Discover.
people who still use a Rolodex, are still gonna have that. .gov.
Probably threw mine out.
Now, do counties or states or municipalities, I know in the school system, we've actually migrated everything to Google. So we use Gmail and Google Docs and Google Drive, which has saved the district a lot. is that something that we could look at through a municipality to eliminate all this paper and start using Google Doc where it can be shared electronically instead of printed?
Yep, and that's part of the Office 365 suite. You have what they call it OneDrive.
Okay.
So, and SharePoint. So you can create a document, and right click it and share it out to a group, to an individual, however you want to do it. Okay. And we're also moving some other services up to the cloud.
And then will our staff be trained on how to use that?
That's, yeah.
You're gonna have to
Because
hook your
that
phone
would,
up to it.
that would then help our cause of eliminating some of this paper that we're then trying to find places to store this paper, where you could have things electronic and then that eliminates all this excess storage.
A lot of it. Remember, he said he was here 6 weeks.
I don't know.
And I know exactly what you're talking about.
I think that this has been one of our goals, you know, we want to try to, establish that.
I'd like to get into at least the 20th century,
Right.
now that we're in the 21st.
No, and this will help facilitate that, for sure, in a big way.
No more carbon paper.
No more carbon copy. CC. Yeah, that's the first couple of weeks in a nutshell. We've accomplished a lot. Team's been hard at work. Ferreting out a lot of these problems, especially the network. We had a network that was up and down. Didn't know when it was gonna work, but it wasn't gonna work. So we identified where that was coming from. It was our vendor. So once we told them what we needed, problem solved. So. Anybody else?
Good job, Greg.
Thank you.
All right.
Good job.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Okay, we'll get into the proposed action items, and Director Ward is gonna speak a few words after we finish that. Number one is increasing the amount of income for the senior citizen tax exemption.
Martinez.
Senior.
No.
Bond senior.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried. Number two, resolution authorizing the chairman of the Greene County Legislature to enter into a payment in lieu of taxes, which is known as a pilot with ELP Catskill Solar LLC. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I got a little, Ray, where exactly is this located? Is this the Beers Farm?
The old blue one.
Who's? Bloom.
You probably knew it. They tried to put a spring company there years ago, Kirk Robb.
Quarterskill Road.
Yeah, it's on Quarterskill. The 400 Ranch was there at one point. I mean, there was a horse riding stable.
Yeah.
Bloom ran a farm there. So
When it says 1.7 megawatts, how much acreage is that?
they haven't given us the actual lease footprint. They plan to lease of that, but the guess would be between 12 and 15 acres.
Okay. Now, just to re-up, when you're entering in the pilot for these solar, it usually works out that it's a little bit more an amount you would collect yearly if it was agriculturally assessed or whatever the property was assessed at, and in regards to this.
If they were receiving an agricultural exemption, it would have to have been out of the exemption for 5 years if they were in an ag district, 8 years if they were not in the ag district, and then you go back and have a 5-year penalty.
Gotcha.
We'll run into, that's not the case there. We'll
Okay.
run into that with some of the Flint lines.
Gotcha.
I can say about this, this was probably the easiest agreement that Ed and I ever had to negotiate, thanks to you guys passing the local law in that. I still have 4 outstanding that predate this one, predate the model law that we put in place. This one was no problem. Attorney called, said, I see you guys have a new local law. Let's cash out the language of the agreement itself and be done. It was a dream to do. They've been a great company to work with that.
Okay, I think we had, did we have a second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Carried. Number 3, authorizing the county of Greene to declare that a certain portion of county-owned real property is no longer needed for public use and conveying approximately 0.001 acre of real property to prospective contiguous property owner for value. I'll make that motion.
Overbaugh, I'll second it.
Lucas Overbaugh?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 4, authorizing sale of a certain parcel of land, tax map ID number 172.06-4-32 to the village of Catskill.
Overbaugh.
Overbaugh and Lucas.
Is this
Any
where the
discussion?
sheriff used to keep his boat, the sheriff's boat?
It's that little triangle. when you come out of the
Yeah.
Exit.
They're gonna make a parking lot out of it, I guess,
Yeah.
for the eventual dog park in front of the water.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 5, authorization to call the organizational meeting for 2023. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 6, adopting rules of order.
Overbaugh.
On with here. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 7, amending resolution number 27911, adoption of Greene County Administrative Manual.
Overbaugh.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 8, American Rescue Plan. Town of Caro.
Lennon.
Lennon and Lavera and Hobart. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 9, authorizing blanket bond for all county employees.
Martinez.
Overbaugh.
Martinez and Overbaugh. All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Number 10, designating official newspapers.
Martinez. Hobart.
Martinez and Hobart. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 11, authorizing delinquent water, sewer, and sidewalk charges to be added to assessment rolls.
Hobart.
Okay. Hobart and Martinez. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 12, authorizing cost incurred under garbage, rubbish, refuse local law to be added to the assessment roll. Town of Caro.
Lennon.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 13, authorizing cost incurred under unsafe bridges law to be added to assessment roll. Town of Cooksaki and Hunter.
Martinez. Hobart.
Martinez and Hobart. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 14, authorizing levy of omitted taxes.
Martinez.
I'll second that.
Can I ask what the omitted taxes are? Or
That was on. I can just look it up.
either one.
I don't have the specifics, but you could. Generally, omitted taxes are a person received an exemption and is no longer entitled, they transfer the property and the new property owner is no longer entitled to that exemption. So they are prorated for the rest of the fiscal year. So, for example, if you have a veteran that owns a piece of property and he dies in March, it's already on the assessment roll. So the law allows the towns to add that omitted tax for the fiscal year for April through December to the following year's assessment roll. Currently, only the county Catskill is doing it. It's a lot of work to really do that. They do recoup, substantially. I mean, what I think the county amount this year was around 80,000, I think, or something like that. So it is substantial. So it's to, for people that shouldn't be entitled to an exemption because they're the new owner of the property.
It seemed like there was one last year too.
It's every year, and it's town, county, and school, so and built going on. And it can be done in every town. Typically, our other towns only do it in a scenario where there's a major transfer of a piece of property. There are some other ways in the law that allow for that tax.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 15, town levies.
Martinez.
Martinez. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 16, authorizing the re-levy of unpaid school taxes for the year 2022.
Martinez.
Martinez and Hobart. Any discussion?
I would say that, especially for the newer legislators, you're gonna see this number come up later on again. He knows this year, and I think we all was 700,000. We pay these in cash. But we'll bond this, we pay them in cash because we have the cash on hand. Our treasurer make the comment of having all this cash on hand. This is part of the reason.
Yes, we make the towns whole.
Right.
Town makes
the towns taxes. Yes.
School districts.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Number 17, authorizing the re-levy of unpaid village taxes for the year 2022.
Martinez.
Martinez and Hobart. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Okay, I'm going to invite Director Ward to speak to us.
It was a couple of months ago when we brought up the senior exemption that I would be bringing back to you another piece of legislation that deals with another exemption, and the body will have to make up their mind whether they wish to pass a local law to allow for it. And as what you receive is fine, with the exception of where it says not yet delivered to the governor. It was delivered on December 2nd to the governor, and the governor signed this piece of legislation on Friday, December 9th. So it is now a point of discussion. And after we're done, I'll give you a few fun facts about the last 7 resolutions that just passed. It's mind-boggling what transpired over this past year from last year. So this bill is not anything new. There is volunteer fire exemptions in, I forget how many counties, but it's A through K. So how many ever letters of the alphabet, and some of them cover a couple of different counties. It was by population. This legislature has taken this up in 1997, 2005, and 2007. Has looked into it and has decided not to pursue it. The change in the legislation is now to make this, instead of driven by you have to have a certain population, it's a statewide exemption. It is still the same 10% exemption for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. The bigger difference is they removed the $3,000 cap on it. So all the other times this body has taken this up, and it would have required state legislation for this county to do it. There was a cap on it, and the impact was not large. I shouldn't say the impact wasn't large, but also the benefit to the firefighter, and that was not large.
$3,000 of assessment?
$3,000 of taxable assessed value.
Not tax dollars.
No, 3,000 of taxable assessed value multiplied by your equalization rate. So if you have a town with a 50% equalization rate, you'd have a $1,500 exemption. That equates in today's dollars. So if we start looking, I think I had a note in financial impact to you that 400 and the savings to the average firefighter, if you look at just county, town, school, this exemption also applies to all special districts and to villages. So the impact gets even larger and benefit gets larger depending on what municipality they live in. I reported to you 492. That was one analysis. This was a very tricky thing because you have 1,254 firefighters on the rolls in this county. There is really no way to figure out what jurisdiction, because we have fire districts that cover multiple municipalities and multiple school districts. So we had to, just like we do with the county apportionment table, I attempted to apportion the school district taxes and bring that back to a full market value. And it was very difficult. I came out with a number of $492 for county, town, school would be the savings to the firefighter. Another scenario I ran, I came out at 429. You start adding in special district taxes, their savings would be up over $500. If the $3,000 cap was in place, the average across the county would be $53. Okay, so they've removed that piece from the legislation. Along with this, there's an income tax credit in New York State for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. That credit is currently $200 for individual, and if both spouses, they can and file jointly, they can get $400 off their credit. And it's a true credit. It's one of the few credits in New York State income tax that's a true credit. So if you only owe $180, the state will mail you a check for the $20 minus interest.
So you cannot apply for the exemption through the state law, and
you can't have both. You can only have one or the other. The only exception is in joint filers. If they're both volunteer firefighters, let's say, one can take the property exemption and one can take the income tax credit. And they can't both take both. So the impact, probably the bigger impact is if you look and said that all 1,254 firefighters were eligible for this, we remove over $31 million of full market value from the assessment roll. So 31 million of 8 billion plus would come off the rolls. And what's that mean? It means tax rates go up and everybody's taxes go up. The best scenario impact I came up with was roughly $17 if it was in place in county, town, and school. Impact to just the county is around $3.17. To give you a comparison, the senior that you just adopted, I think I reported, was $5.90 or something like that. So the impact is a little less on the county side, but the benefit may or may not be there, because unlike every tax, it's not assessed by assessing jurisdiction, it's every taxing jurisdiction would have to pass a local law, or if it's a school district, a resolution to adopt this. So if the county says yes to this, there's no benefit. They might as well go out and grab the income tax credit. If the town passes, same thing. The two combined, probably still better off with the income tax credit. If the schools hop on board, that's where the benefit would be to the firefighters. I have not had a single phone call from a firefighter to my office. I can tell you, if you guys remember with the veterans exemptions, when the new Cold War vet came out a few years back, I was not your director at the time, but a lot of our school districts really struggled with passing that legislation. And I think they would have the same scenario here because of that huge tax shift on school tax dollars. It's your decision. If you decide to move forward with doing this, we would need to pass a local law. So we require a public hearing. We would have to do that in January, pass the local law in February for it to be in place in time for March 1st taxable status date. Why the legislature, this passed the legislature, both houses of the legislature, late May, early June. Why they held off until December to deliver to the governor is anybody's guess. Really puts everybody under the gun to make some snap decisions of whether you're going to do this. My listserv of my county directors, they're already started. They're not even worried about the financial impact. They're more worried about how this thing's going to be implemented because the law also requires that the fire district or company certify to the taxing jurisdiction, not the assessing jurisdiction. So theoretically, they would have to certify those firefighters to us at Greene County. Then I would have to notify the assessing jurisdiction or whoever this county decides. We can, you read, there is some things in the legislation that would allow us to bypass that and say that the fire company would have to certify to the assessing jurisdiction. We could put that language into our local law. Then the questions arise. What happens if the fire company doesn't certify the role? What is that firefighter supposed to do? They could go out and get a certification from their fire company, deliver that with the application that literally if we pass it in February, they're going to have 2 weeks to roll this through and get it to their assessor by March 1st. I don't want to tell you what to do. The other thing is you can decide, we get to decide, and each taxing jurisdiction gets to decide, not the assessing jurisdiction. We get to decide what the length of service is before you're eligible, from 2 to 5 years. So the county could adopt 5 years, the town could adopt 2, school district. Nope, 2 to 5.
1955.
Have you had any communication with town soups on this? Has anybody jumped?
The only one that has tried was Conway. Was considering. I've had a couple of assessors call me about it. They're not knocking on my door down.
Just for the record, we sent out all legislation to the town clerks and supervisors.
Yeah.
Make sure that everybody has the information is aware.
Now, what justifies, like the firefighter, but if you have somebody that's not active for the member?
That's a matter of interpretation. The word active is not in there. They get to determine what is an enrolled member.
44, yeah.
The fire company gets to.
Okay. They put that verbiage in there, act like a little bit.
Then you get to
Someone's
fire.
in there for-
There is a legal opinion out there. What happens if fire company A has in their enrolled member status that you have to respond to 80% of the calls. Another one has 90%. How does that pertain to the exemption? Well, if you're in fire company A, if they certify that you responded to 80% of the calls, you get the exemption. Fire company B, 90%. It's not by the taxing jurisdiction. There's a lot of convoluted stuff. I don't understand. I mean, this exemption's been around quite a long time for different counties. And I'm sure it probably had to do with the people were able to get the benefit may have been more, either they weren't making enough income to get the benefit of the full credit. I can only guess. The other thing that we would have to do is decide the procedure for certification, which I brought up, and whether we're going to allow that the exemption would continue after 20 years of service for the end of your life. So if a 25-year-old firefighter is certified, at age 45, he has 20 years of service. Till he's 85, he'll have that 10% exemption, whether he's an active firefighter or not. And the residency requirement becomes just the county as opposed to for the current exemption. And we do have some firefighters that do not live in the service area of the, so we have a firefighter in Cooksaki that belongs to Hose One in Catskill. Guess what? He's not eligible for the exemption. It has to be, the company has to service the assessing jurisdiction that you're applying. And then the last one would be, we could do if we had this local law in a place, we could amend it, or we could pass a second law that allows for an unremarried spouse of a firefighter or ambulance worker killed in the line of duty. It's specific to killed in the line of duty. Would be able to.
What we call feel-good legislation. Because first of all, probably half of the people that would be eligible for this exemption, but for the fact that they rent their property, they don't own, they're not eligible for this exemption.
Correct.
So they're going to revert back to the initial exemption anyway.
Yeah, I would have rather seen the state legislature, let's increase the amount of the income credit.
Absolutely.
Rather than put this on. The fire districts have budgets.
This is a ton of
If
work.
they want to add into their fire district's budgets, it's all under the guise of recruitment and retention. And so if they want to have an incentive, yeah, that's what the sponsor.
$200 versus $500.
Read the sponsor about recruitment and retention. I mean, what it's all about. So that's how they're
Give me
doing.
$5,000. That's retention. 500. If it comes down to having to certify that I'm a member and I've been here for so long, and I gotta do a bunch of paperwork to give an extra $300, keep your $300. That's just my opinion, but
It sounds like a nightmare.
they're jumping, you're making, you know,
Paperwork.
a couple $100, plus they could have just changed.
And they held
the
out this.
income tax.
Now it's just 2 months to figure it all
Then the
out.
state takes the bill.
And then the state takes the bill. This way, they take
We
the
take
bill.
the bill.
And it's a ton of work for a whole lot of money.
Thank you, New York State.
I can give you my opinion on this if you so desire. My opinion is hold off. I don't know, we're being live streamed here. I'm sure I'll get crucified and phone call tomorrow, but I would hold off and see if the group of firemen in Greene County start to lobby you, the town and the school district. Because if not, if all three of those taxing jurisdictions are not going to adopt, there really is not a benefit. There's not a benefit to the firefighter going forward.
If the school district does not adopt, there's not a.
There's not a benefit.
Correct.
Right.
Forget what we do or what the towns do or don't.
Right. It really comes down to,
And
and is it a good exemption? Yes. But at the way it's laid out right now, I just don't see going through the hoops to make it happen. I mean, but that's your decision. I'm a numbers geek. Your first presenter that took up all my speaking time.
But cyclically, Ray, you said you'd have to have an item in the January cycle.
Yes, we would have to, in order to make this in place for the 23 fall, we would have to put a resolution on in January for a public hearing in February. And to go live, because those applications would have to be to the assessor by close of business on March 1st. I'm assuming March 1st is on a weekday.
Digest it.
And
we wouldn't be passing our final resolution until the third Wednesday of February. But there's your 2-week notice where somebody can make the application. Correct.
March 1st.
And I'm sure our assessors would say, fine. First of all, there isn't even an generic application for the state. They're all county specific at this point. And I was on a call with the state of RIPTAC meeting on Thursday last week. Yeah, they were Their attitude was, well, we'll wait until the governor signs it, then we'll create the form. So, I mean, I was even thinking, I copied, Columbia County has this exemption. Oh, and I can give you that tidbit. Columbia County, under the old exemption with the 3,000 cap, and our counties run very typical on exemption numbers. If I tell you I have 900 seniors, she's got 1,000. If I have 1,200 firefighters, she has 1,300. Okay, she literally, since the inception of the law, has never had more than 96 volunteer firefighters on the exemption. Like you said, they're the renters, it's just, with that 3,000 pass, it's just, so.
So it's digested. It's fuel wasted energy. They made a big deal of it. Because they're gonna give benefit to volunteer firemen. It's always a vote getter, it's a good thing. It sounds good, but when you do it like this,
Better off taking taxes.
you're better off going the easy route, in my opinion. You go the easy route, you check the box, yes, I'm a member, here's the company that I belong in, and there's your credit.
Yeah, your credit.
It's that easy.
Well, let me know what you want me to do.
Yeah, I know. But I certainly your point is well taken. Might be better off in waiting simply for the fact that if it's not agreeable to the school districts, and we know that the benefit is drastically reduced, then what are we going
Who's
to
gonna
do?
apply? There's no benefit to applying. There's no benefit to somebody that owns a piece of property to apply, unless they don't make enough income to file an income tax return.
Right, just a question. I don't know if we can do this or not. Can we do one on our own with state approval?
No, I don't think so. We might have been able, in the old, when this was looked at the 3 other times, we might have been able to model into the state legislation some things, because the first like A through D, there was something, they didn't have the 20-year thing. And so in some year in the late 90s, those 4 counties went back to the legislature and said, we want to add the 20 years. So, and that happened one other time with another provision. I'd have to go back through the sequence of how the law changed A through K. And by the way, A through K under this new legislation are repealed 3 years out. So I warned the director over in Columbia County, and her response to me, I said, don't worry about it, you'll be retired. She retires the year before her county will have to deal with it. But they're looking at a big impact because they have to go to the new exemption. They cannot.
Because they already approved it.
Because they had already approved. So my opinion is hold off and wait. And so we don't have it for 23. If we do it, we can make it and right in place for 24. But if you want to do it for 23, I can make that.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I just think we need to explain that this exemption is not a big windfall for anyone. Not really exemption, it's slicing anybody's income here. By a drastic amount. You know, church county $10, some dollars.
So Chair, what do you want to make a motion, not a motion? I don't even know how we would do this, just not take it out. It's only info.
Well, that's a good thing. That's what you would do. I mean, it doesn't hurt you to pass it. And if the school doesn't do it, then I think the firefighters are gonna understand math and not use it. But if we don't do it, then the schools do jump in, like on the backside of it. I don't think it hurts us to pass it, but it's unrealistic to think that they have 2 weeks in order to file the application, just on a form that's not yet completed.
Right, and I think we would, we'd have to spell out the certification in the local law. And
do we have to pick a year, or can we say 2 to 5? We have to pick a year.
We have
Do we pick the year or does
no
district pick?
No, they get to decide what an enrolled member is. We get to decide whether they have 2 or 5 years.
But then they have to go through all their records and make sure that these people
Meet that criteria.
Yeah.
And you can have somebody do a 2, do a 3, do a 4, and do a 5, correct?
Absolutely.
Not confused. Unless we include in our list, in our resolution, that we encourage the other jurisdictions to pass this. Perfect. Some continuity.
Yeah, because if you don't, you
We,
could have-
we could encourage it, it's not gonna guarantee it.
No, I get it. I just, I feel sorry for the assessor who's gonna have to have multiple
This is
tiers.
gonna, this, you know, if we talk about the senior exemption, which you just passed tonight in committee, the amount of paperwork involved in that one is atrocious because it's income driven. I mean, for those 900 exemptions, I don't even want to think about what it takes when a senior drops off a shoebox full of receipts. So what it takes for them to get through an application, and they do, they bend over backwards for our seniors and make sure. Town and Carroll assessor, if that senior hasn't done, she's given them a phone, they're going to get a notice. Now possibly a second notice. That's legislation too, I hope to bring to you tonight. We may have to do a second mailing, or actually the tax collector. I proposed to Sean, and all towns have agreed, we can do it for about 50% of the cost. And sorry, Pat, but we're going to charge that back to the tax.
I know, it's part of our rules.
We could vote no.
I'm gonna vote no.
But the thing is if I don't do it, they're gonna pay twice as much for it. So might as well let me do it, charge it back.
Can we get a benefit out of that?
Do we get a benefit out of it? It's a second notice within, it's not even within 30 days. Your tax bill went out on January 1 with a notice on the back that says if you're a senior citizen, call your assessor. There's exemptions out there available. The new legislation, which again hasn't been delivered to the governor, but it's all signs is that it's gonna pass. And it's gonna get delivered, it's gonna get signed. That 30 days prior to taxable status date, you have to mail a second notice, not only to your senior citizens, you have to mail it to every residential homeowner. So guess what? I'm not a senior citizen. I'm not eligible. Guess what? I'm gonna get a notice. My 32-year-old son-in-law is gonna get a notice that you may be eligible for, he'll get a postcard in the mail. It's hilarious. It's great.
So, straw vote, do we just go forward or hold on?
I take great.
Yeah, I think we just let them go to the firemen and let them lobby, not so much lobby us, but see where they're gonna stand with this thing. And I don't just like that to be the generic language. If you're active, you're active. That means you take a physical, you're fit for duty. And by all
I can
means-
do a little more research. I looked at legal opinions. There was only 5 legal opinions dealing that I could find dealing with it. Maybe Ed, you could help me out. And see if there's anything.
No one said you have to be active.
No, there was a piece at one of, and where I got this from, and I can't find where he backed it up. Frank Algazine, a previous director, there was a question that he posed. And yeah. You put my hands on it.
You know that.
Right, but the question had to do with active service. And I don't know why he used the term active. I tried to look through all the changes in those legislations, A through K through the years, to see if active was used, and they changed it to enrolled. All I know is the new legislation says enrolled. And so I don't really care about prior legislation because we never had.
Right about the district with the social memberships.
Right, it says enrolled member, and I think the legal opinions out there would support that enrolled is active, but active can have a different connotation from one fire district or to whatever.
Yep, they can also be careful.
Yeah, I'd be careful. So I that's why my opinion is I mean, let's see. We'll hold and I'll try to do, if I can discover more information, and maybe with Ed's help, we can find something that we can put in. The active does concern.
I would say reach out maybe to school districts and find out what they're leaning.
You're not gonna do anything.
If they're even hoping they don't even bring it up.
I can tell you, emergency operations director, when I asked him for a firewall, he's like, what do you think?
I
The
have,
legislation had already passed.
I have a 9 o'clock Zoom meeting with school superintendent.
See about there, yeah, if there's an interest, they can reach out to me for some details.
Business manager.
I mean, you're
Yeah.
If they're all thinking, hey, this is great, we love it.
7 this year.
Like I said, I know the connotation that went through with trying to pass the Cold War vet. The town, the school districts had an issue because of the way it was laid out with different defining limits. So it took them a long time. I think Greenville School, I think we got asked to do 4 or 5 years in a row to do analysis before they could get a board that decided. And I see this going the same.
Yeah.
You know, they decide on 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
Move on.
It sounds like we're right down to the wire.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's a lot of decisions that have to be made by this, and they're gonna have to be made very quickly.
There is one other piece of legislation that I will be coming back and supporting if it goes to the governor. And passed at the end of May at both houses, hasn't been delivered by the assembly to the governor as of yet. And that is to allow for condominiums to be valued at their market value. Assessment community has been battling this for years and years. Under 339Y, condominiums have to be valued as if they were rental units. So if you own an apartment house and it's what can I get in market rent? The values are sometimes 20% of what these things are selling for. It's not fair to the other residential homeowners. So there is legislation that finally passed, but hasn't been delivered to the governor.
So,
Oh, and the one on the mail, I understand that actually I sent you the Association of Towns are supposed to be writing a letter to the governor denouncing that second mail. It's too late. It passed all 3 of these pieces passed unanimously in both houses, unanimous.
Well, as Pat said, it's a feel good.
you know what I mean? Let's move it along.
Move it along. I'll just give you some fun facts then. We're not going to do that, and we'll do some more research and come back to it. Some fun facts on all your levy information. We just passed our total warrants of $68,784,000. That's up over $3.2 million over a year. The county warrant went up by 1.19 million. Town warrants went up by 2.02 million. The county levy, as you know, big fat zero. Somebody raised about school re-levies up $974,000 year over year.
The warrant is up, our levy is the same. Be careful of your understanding of each of those.
Right, so,
terminologies.
and $245,000 in village levy. So right there is your $1.2 million that the county warrant went up. It's all in unpaid schools and unpaid villages. And then the other big issue that I wanted you to know about delinquencies. Peter talks to you about delinquencies as far as delinquent taxes. These are delinquent sewer rents and water rents and your unsafe building charges, and that they're up by $206,000. So there's some not so feel good numbers to go home with tonight,
Thanks.
but I figured you need to know.
Fun facts.
Fun facts. They were fun facts. That's how I walked into my deputy.
Lowercase f, of course.
That's how I walked into my deputy. Okay, some fun facts about the 69 years of work you just did.
Let's go.
We can all invite Ray to your next party for some fun facts.
I'm a numbers geek. What can I say?
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Director Ward.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn. Motion to
Second.
adjourn.
Operations.
Good job, Peter.
We're closed.
Another fine mess you got us into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone is keeping marijuana illegal.
Got a pizza places.
Now, if you keep still, maybe we'll get through this.
I'll try my best. I gotta get an outline.
Harry's having a problem.
I don't have it on my computer.
There's Orange. Can handle it.
Charlie, she's ready.
Charlie. Ready? All right. All finance committee meetings to order. Several proposed resolutions. Number one, increase amount of income for senior citizen tax exemption. Martinez.
Overblock.
Overall seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Number two is authorizing blanket bond for all county employees. I'll take that.
Overblock second.
Overall seconds. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Three, designating official bank depositories.
Davis.
Mr. Davis.
Rivera.
Mr. Lavera seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Four is a resolution authorizing the chairman of the Greene County Legislature to enter into a payment in lieu of taxes pilot with ELP Casco Solar LLC.
Davis.
Mr. Davis.
Overblock.
Mr. Overall seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Number five, authorize the county of Greene to declare a certain portion of county-owned real property is no longer needed for public use and conveying approximately 0.001 acres real property to continuous property owner for value in Hobart.
Davis.
Davis seconds it. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Six, authorized sale of certain parcel of land tax number ID number 172.06-4-32 to the village of Cats.
Rivera.
Mr. Lavera.
Bueller.
Mr. Buick seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Number seven, amending resolution number 279-11, adoption of Greene County Administrative Manual.
Bueller.
Overblock.
So both seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Number eight, American Rescue 8 Plan Town of Carroll. Harry?
Rivera.
Rivera seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. Number nine, authorized agreement, Greene County Agricultural Society.
Rivera.
Who would introduce it?
Hobart Rivera.
Hobart. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 10, authorized agreement, Community Action Greene County, Inc.
Overblock.
Overall,
Davis.
Davis seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 11, authorized agreement, Cornell Cooperative Extension Association of Columbia and Greene County.
Overblock.
Overall, and Mr. Rivera, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 12, authorizing agreement, Greene County Federation of Sportsmen. Who
Lennon.
is this? Mr. Hobart seconds it. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 13, authorized agreement, Historical Society.
Overblock.
Overball, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 14, authorized agreement, Greene County Library Association.
Lennon.
Lennon,
Overblock.
so both second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 15, authorized agreement, Soil and Water Conservation District.
Davis.
Mr. Davis,
Bueller.
Billy seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 16, authorized agreement, Soil and Water Conservation District, RE Watershed Assistance Program.
Davis.
Mr. Davis,
Linger.
Tommy, or
Linger.
Chairman?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 12, authorized purchase of one used Ottawa Model 30-yard tractor. Martinez?
Hobart.
Hobart seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 18, resolution. No, authorizing Greene County Department of Human Services, Aging and Anytime Home Care, Inc.
Rivera.
Vera, Mr. Davis, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 19 is authorizing agreement, Greene County Department of Human Services, Aging and Home Helpers.
Lennon. Lennon.
Martin, Mr. Leonard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 20, authorized lease agreement, Greene County Department of Human Services, Aging, Town of Carroll, Acre Community Center. Harry?
Yep,
Bueller.
Bueller seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 21, amending resolution number 356-22, authorize agreement approving individual provider contract preschool special education program.
Davis.
Overbaugh.
Davis. So, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Excuse me. Number 22, approving individual provider contract preschool special education program.
Davis.
Davis.
Overbaugh.
Well, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 23, authorize agreement, Greene County Public Health Department and Capital District Physicians Health Plan, Inc., CDPHP.
Davis.
Mr. Davis, I'll second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. Number 24, authorize agreement, Greene County Public Health Department, Joshua Rosenfield, MD.
Davis.
Davis, I'll second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 25, authorize agreement, Greene County Public Health, New Baltimore Animal Hospital Rabies Prevention.
Davis.
Hobart seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 26, reappointing member to Board of Directors of Soil and Water District.
Davis.
Davis, I'll second it, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 27, authorizing chargeback of election-related services and materials. Martin, second. Hobart. Hobart. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. You know, let's get back to that before we vote. You know, we gave back, charge back to colleges, to the towns, to the tune of $700,000 to $900,000.
800, almost 800.
800, all right, thank you. So, you know, we give back and they still don't reduce the taxes or anything else. And I don't think it's an unjust fee. So that's why I'm voting for this.
That's why I wrote for it too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. Sorry about that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, don't be sorry.
Well, we
Yeah,
have.
but they can't prevent, pick the new.
Okay, number 28,
Use the budget.
authorize delinquent water, sewer, and sidewalk charges to be added to assessment roll. Martinez,
Overbaugh.
Ms. Oldwell, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. 29, authorize costs incurred on unsafe building law be added to assessment roll, town of Cooksaki and Hunter.
Hobart.
I'll second it. Jesus, you're awful quiet there, Darrell. Says Hunter. All in favor?
I did enough talking tonight.
Feel good or what? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. 30, authorizing costs incurred under garbage, rubbish, refuse, local law to be added to assessment roll, town of Carroll. Harry?
Leonard.
Leonard, who seconds? Lavera. Mr. Lavera, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 31, authorizing levy of omitted taxes. Martinez,
Bueller.
Bueller, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 32, town levies.
Hobart. Bueller.
Mr. Bueller, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 33, authorizing the re-levy of unpaid school taxes for year 22. Martinez,
Bueller.
Bueller, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 34, authorizing the re-levy of unpaid village taxes for year 22.
Hobart.
Hobart,
Davis.
Davis, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 35, budget amendment, economic development, tourism planning, insurance recovery. Martinez,
Bueller.
Bueller, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 36, budget amendment, Greene County Human Services Youth Bureau.
Bueller.
Hobart, Mr. Hobart, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 37, budget amendment, Greene County Mental Health, New York Office of Addiction Services.
Rivera.
Mr. Rivera,
Leonard.
Leonard, seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's also carried. 38, budget amendment, Greene County Mental Health, New York Office of Mental Health.
Overbaugh.
Overball. Hobart, seconds. Hobart, seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 39, authorization paid claims, highway, Martinez. Hobart, seconds it, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, that's carried. 40, pay claims, Martinez. You'd like to second that, Mr. Lake?
I'll second
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. Jesus, we got you on one. All in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Real proud of you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else come before treasurer?
Executive
session is there.
Mr. Marcoux is ill tonight, so he'll.
Lucky him.
I'll make a motion to go in executive session.
One short. On personnel and contract negotiations. Who made the motion? Lincoln? Hobart. Thank you.